Welcome to the Survivor's Chair podcast, a podcast where we break down our stories and our trauma, understanding how they have impacted our career and our life. This is a place where we break free from shame, own our truth, and step into our power, one story at a time. Hi, I'm Kim, an adoptee, a former foster youth, hairstylist, salon owner, breast cancer, and complex trauma survivor. So join us, pull up a chair, in this no sugarcoating, no holding back, honest conversation about healing and success. Hello, my friends. Today I'm going to talk about the upside of trauma. Can it be an upside? Yeah, I think so. I'm going to talk about how trauma impacted my life in a good way. Because everything that we do in life, everything that happens to us is a lesson. Even my most recent breast cancer journey was a lesson. The lesson in that was don't waste any more time. Don't waste time. Just do it. Don't waste time starting a podcast or thinking about it. Just do it. Just do it. So I'm just doing it. Cancer's funny because it definitely puts that bug in your ear that you don't have forever. And I kind of thought I did. I was under the illusion that I had all this time in the world and, none of us do. We just don't know. So every day we need to embrace it, enjoy it, even when it sucks. You got to get in the yuck, and then you got to get out of it. You can't stay in it. That's the key. That was one of my lessons also in life is like, you just can't stay in the yucky stuff. And I do say, and you've heard the quote a million times, I'm sure, it's not what life is doing to you, it's what it's doing for you. And I will say that all the time. And I have gone through so many different experiences in my life. It's very hard to look at it as what it's doing for me. I'm at a place in my life now that I really can. And even with my cancer, I can say, what was that doing for me? And what that was doing for me was saying, you got to change. You're not happy with what you're doing. You haven't been for a long time. Your life is stressful. You don't ask for any help. You do it all yourself. You're like a crazy person. You have to slow down. You have to take care of yourself. And I was not listening to my body at all. And I needed a big, big hard smack. And cancer was that big hard smack. So that was the lesson. And so with that lesson, I am not waiting to do anything. So here I am talking about the upside of trauma. Might take you a little bit to grasp that, but I do think that there's an upside to everything. And my upside, when I think about it, I was 25 years old when I opened my business. I always say I was dumb as a stump. I really was clueless. I had no idea how to run a business, but I knew how to work really hard and I wasn't afraid of learning. And the first thing I did was I trucked into Boston and I took a course on employees versus independent contractors in the beauty industry. So I took this course at the IRS headquarters, wherever it was in Boston. And I left there saying, I'm never going to have employees. That is way too confusing. Now, mind you, I did have a couple of booth renters in the beginning. That didn't last very long, maybe a year or so. And then I went directly into an employee-based salon. I just kept learning and learning and learning. And I joined what's now known as the Professional Beauty Association. But back when I joined it, it was TSA, the Salon Association. And that was really in the beginning of emails and the internet and all of those things. I sound like I'm a dinosaur. There was a email chat in there. And what I did is every email that I thought was important or that I could learn something from or I needed to reference, I would print them out. And I had a 3-ring binder all categorized on employees and benefits and laws and tips. And I had this giant 3-ring binder, which I just got rid of probably about 2 years ago, which is hysterical. But I was always willing to learn. Now, my trauma taught me that I couldn't rely on anybody else. If I didn't work hard and I didn't make my own money, I would never survive. So that's what I did. I worked really hard. I was there 6 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day. The problem with my trauma is that I undercharged for my services because I didn't feel worthy. And I didn't like confrontation. I didn't like anybody questioning me. And there was always those people when I did attempt to go up on my prices, they would say, well, that's not for me, right? That's for the other people because we're friends. Or, you're ripping me off, which I think my haircuts was $17 at the time, which is crazy. But I was severely undercharging, which made me work harder. But my independence, my hyper independence, my fear that I couldn't rely on anybody but myself really allowed me to work really, really hard. So that helped me grow my business. What it also helped me do is, as time went on, 8 years into my business, I had two partners in the beginning of my business that it really turned out very ugly. One was gone after a year, and the other one after almost 3 years. And that did get really ugly, all because of my trauma. That could be a whole nother podcast and story. But I continued to work hard after they left, even harder, I think. And the other thing that my trauma instilled in me was a scarcity mindset that it didn't matter how much money I made, I was never going to have enough. I was always going to be left without any money, and then I wouldn't have any food and I wouldn't have a roof over my head. Scarcity mindset, which is what I had for a long, long, long time. I didn't feel worthy of success. So I always, in my business, just stayed kind of status quo, just enough to pay my bills, have a little fun, never strived. Or if I did make money, I spent $10,000 on taking my team to a show, which salons that were my size didn't do stuff like that. I wanted to make sure I had benefits for my employees. So I did that. First thing I did was put in a retirement fund because I knew how important that was in our industry. We didn't have anything like that. So that was really important. And when I did get it, I usually gave it away, whether it was within my business or it was outside my business, lending somebody money or just buying other people's stuff. It was much easier for me to spend $1,000 on somebody else than it was myself. I just didn't feel worthy of it. I was fine just the way I was. The scarcity mindset that I had also helped me in a way that I saved every penny. I was so afraid to spend money, even though I would buy stuff for other people, but I was so afraid to spend money. I did not spend any money on anything for myself. If I was in a store and I had an armful of clothes, I would walk around that store for an hour and then I would finally put it all back. And I'm like, you know what? Do you really need that? You really don't need that. I couldn't buy something for myself. It just felt wrong. So I saved money, which again, I didn't think that I was ever going to have enough. And then the opportunity came for me to buy a house at 32. And it wasn't buying a house for me to live in, even though I did live upstairs, but it allowed me to have my business on the first floor. This big, old, Victorian, beautiful house. Redid the entire first floor to accommodate the salon. The building inspector came and he told me not to buy the house. It needed way too much work. Everything needed to be done: roofs, electrical, driveway, all heating systems, like all big, big, big things. And the best part about it is I really didn't have any money to do a salon. I had my down payment, but then after that, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I'm going to talk more about how people come into your life when you need them the most. And this particular man who owned this house came into my life and he helped me get this house and still have money to do the salon. My scarcity mindset allowed me to save that money. I didn't want to have to rely on a partner to buy a house. I wanted to make sure I could do everything on my own and that whoever came into my life was great, but I didn't have to rely on them financially. So I did that, which was great. So the upside of my trauma is it allowed me to purchase my house, to work really hard, to save money. It The other piece of my trauma was I could connect with people, I feel like on a different level. And everybody that came into the salon, my first and foremost was I wanted to create a safe space. I wanted people to come in and just like be able to take a deep breath and feel relaxed and welcome everybody and anybody. I didn't care who you were, what you wanted to be, or what you didn't want to be. I didn't care. And I wanted everybody to come in and be able to be themselves, feel comfortable. And at the same time, a lot of customers shared a lot of things. And I felt like I could connect with a lot of people and have some great conversations and really help a lot of people in my 40 years of doing it. And I'm still doing it. And I love every single second of it. There's so many upsides to trauma. And sometimes we can focus too much on the negative pieces of trauma and the woe is me. Why did this happen to me? Oh, my life would be so much better if this or that or the other thing. And maybe that's true. But the best part about growing up is that we have choices. As children, we don't. We're trapped in our trauma world and we're trying to make the best of it and we're trying to survive and we're trying to get through it. And we get to grow up, gain control over our life, make choices. We can choose to be happy. We can choose to not be happy. We can woe is me our entire life, or we can say, you know what? That happened to me. It did. Now, what am I going to do with that? And how can I make the world a better place because of it? I feel like there's so much more to our trauma and there's so much more to our story than what we think there is. And I'll continue to say that over and over again through this podcast is that there's so much more than your story. And most of us have been given a gift of empathy and understanding and compassion and acceptance and tolerance and uh, the ability to learn and grow and want more out of life than what we had and want the people around us that we love to have a better experience than we had. So there's a lot of upsides. To get to those upsides, you have to go through the yuck first. If you don't go through the yuck of your own experience and your own story, it's really hard to find that happiness and joy and all of those things. It's hard to get there because you're stuck in survival mode. I think 99% of the solution to just about anything is awareness. Awareness of your behaviors. Behaviors that come from our trauma that have been embedded in us since we were children. So it's being aware of your behaviors. Are you a control freak? Are you defensive? Are you argumentative? Are you quiet? Awareness is 99% of the solution. And once you're aware of your behaviors, before you know it, you're starting in that process, that one baby step at a time, getting to know yourself. And I'm going to be 57 this year, and I have been doing this for a long time. You're never going to get through it all. Like, you're never going to be 100% because that's just life. And it's a part of being human. It's the human experience. We're going to have ups, we're going to have downs, but it's how you handle it and it's what you do with them that matters the most in life. And like I said, you can crawl in a corner and woe is me and poor me, look what happened to me. Or you can say, you know what, let me figure this out. Why am I so unhappy? And I think I said it in my last podcast. We stay in jobs that we hate. We stay in relationships that we hate. We stay in friendships that we hate. We do things we don't want to do. And we go against what we feel is true to ourselves. And the first step in, awareness or healing or however you want to say it is listening to yourself. And you hate that job, quit it. And I know that sounds impossible for some people. Like, I couldn't possibly do that. But even if you hate your job and you're looking and you're open, something is going to come your way. And I do think that it's really hard to open other doors without closing some. And like I said, don't go quitting your job just because I said that. But it's really important to examine your life and see where you can make changes. When all your friends are going out, you're exhausted and you have fear of being left out. At the same time, because of your trauma, you're afraid if you don't go, you're not going to be liked. Everybody's going to be mad at you. Nobody's going to talk to you. You're not going to have any friends. So you go and you're exhausted and you don't show up as the best version of yourself because you're resentful and you're tired. And, the next day everybody's asking you, what was the matter anyways? So to be honest and say, I just can't do it tonight. I'm exhausted. And sit with that because it's going to make you feel uncomfortable if it's the first time that you've ever done it. And sit with that. And like, how does that feel in my body? Do I have a stomach ache? Did I have a stomach ache when I said yes? And then when I said no, did it go away? Those are all things to pay attention to. And you can feel your resistance when you're doing something that you really don't want to do. So I think small changes like that can really put you in the right direction to being more authentically you, which is really hard for adults who have had childhood trauma that haven't really paid attention to it because we don't know how to be us. We have spent all of our years trying to be who everybody else wanted us to be to try to stay safe. And that's okay. That's okay. So my friends, there's an upside to everything. I know it doesn't seem like it some days, but I promise you there is. And when it doesn't feel like it, if that's one of those days today, it doesn't feel like it. Tomorrow is always a new day. And it's a fresh start. And we get to choose how we put our feet on the ground and how we feel in our head and what we're grateful for. And I mean, I start my day every day. I'm so grateful for my body. I'm so grateful for my body. Despite what I have done to that body of mine over the years, it continues to come back for me. Always. And I'm so grateful. I won't waste another minute. Just like I said at the beginning, don't waste another minute being unhappy, being angry, or going against what you really believe in. All of those things, or what you believe that you need for yourself, or taking care of yourself. You women, all women out there, gosh, we are last in line. We are last in line. If you've got trauma and you're a woman, it's like a double whammy because we don't know how to take care of ourselves. We only know how to take care of everybody else in our life. So it's time, my friends, it's time. As my dearest friend says to me, and she has been saying to me since I was 18 years old, we have been friends for almost 40 years. And we started working together at a hair salon. And she's been telling me since I was 18, bump yourself up to the top because nobody else is going to do it. And boy, was she right. And I wish I listened to her a lot sooner. So my friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, follow, share. If you feel like this podcast is something that somebody would like or could get some useful information, please share it. And I will see you next time on the Survivor's Chair podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Survivor's Chair podcast. You can head over to my website, www.kimrussellpro.com. That's KIMRUSSELLPRO.com. You can catch up on my blogs. Follow me on social, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or TikTok. All the links will be in the show notes, and I'll see you next time in the Survivor's Chair.